Okay, so as a filmmaker or someone who loves making videos, you're gonna come across shooting cars at some point. When it was time for me to shoot a car, I was like, yeah, I don't know where to start. I don't know how to shoot a car. How is it different to shooting anything else? But there is a lot of different ways you see it shot in movies, and it is pretty different to, say, shooting a person arriving to a location.
Doorbells, landlords, I make it clear.
Oh, bongo, 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 he don't wanna leave the Congo. No, 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 no. Bingo, bango, bongo, he's so happy in the jungle.
It's just different, and like what helped me to realize what to do when shooting a car is to watch movies, record them, study them. I started doing that a wee while before I shot this cinematic car video here that I'll show you shortly. There is different methods. A car is a larger object. Shooting a larger space. You still think in terms of shooting a person, but you have to think bigger. So I think one of the ideas we had was of Peaky Blinders was a lot of car shots. The movie Drive had some. That movie is shot really uniquely where it's all first person kind of perspective, so there wasn't that much cinematography in there. But in my big list of shots I've recorded for movies, car shots are almost my most common in there, and what I refer back to a lot, because you can use the car to frame the next thing you're going to shoot. Every movie, just car shots seem to play a really big role.
David, airport, let's go.
Progress a story really well of someone going somewhere, conversations happen in cars. I don't know, they're just a really, really cinematic thing that you see in every movie a lot, a bit like elevators and as you guys know now, I study movies, I record movies, and I build out shot lists. And right before shooting this project that will go over the cinematic breakdown, keeping these tactics or methods movies use to create a short cinematic piece. And this would have only been possible by studying these movies. These are my takeaways of how to create really dynamic cinematic shots. So before we get right into what I did, why I did it, I used mostly the anamorphic 50 for these shots. I find I love that lens, but otherwise the 16 to 35 for all the wide angles. So they're my main two. A lot of gimbal stuff with this, with the Ronin. R5C stabilization turned on. So we filmed this in New Zealand, and we came across some pretty cool locations through some pretty intense location scouting, rented a car, and I had a few movie shots in mind.
But even in the dark, I saw you were the only one alone. At these hard gates you spit your vitriol, though you swore you wouldn't do this anymore. And I can't be for you all of the things you want me to, but I will love you constantly. There's precious little else to me, and though so run on,
This very first shot here, let's break it down. So this is the 35mm, not anamorphic. So as you can see, we want to introduce the subject into the location. So we have plenty of foreground, which hides the second subject, which is the mansion. We see the car fairly well, following the car, and it just really nicely reveals both into at the end, really nicely. So I think without the foreground at the top there, revealing the mansion, that shot would not have been nearly as good. And I've broken this one down before, but it's anamorphic 50, me holding the gimbal above my head, and just a really long drawn out shot. There's quite a few movies I see this sort of shot on.
One more thing, young man.
So subject going in and then to the hand with the door, and there's the subject's moving, person with the camera is moving. This is just a push in. So when you're shooting, whether it's in a room or on the street, you want to shoot towards corners. So we have a big long street here, we have another street going this way, here's the corner, so I am going with the gimbal straight towards the corner. That's how you get nice lines and composition. And then I always love a push in as well. And then this shot I've broken down before, but the car comes into frame off Peaky Blinders, and then the watch, and our eyes are drawn to what is going on with the watch. Generic details of the watch, trying to get good composition, and then so lifting the suitcase up, time lapse. This is a reveal of the car that you can see there. So just thought, how do we reveal the car in the mountains? So it was meant to be more of a focus on the mirror, but we didn't quite nail it. But it creates a much more interesting shot putting the mirror there. This was a 16-35, probably 24mm. Subject, follow subject, hold the frame into a different subject, which in this case is this old hotel.
Not often. Could try for an investigator's license. Become a PI. Those guys help people.
Which we stayed at, and I chose this room particularly, and I knew we could get this shot shooting out the window of our room, and yeah, it all worked out. And then back finishing in this shot, and we actually finish on a freeze frame. I like some movies that do freeze frames at the end to finish.
Hello, Bob.
The shotgun would ignite, and LMA would scream. But Robert Ford would only lay on the floor and look at the ceiling, the light going out of his eyes, before he could find the right words.